Back, WNST's years of doing this, and I'm celebrating 26 years this week. It was December 13th in 1991 that I did my first broadcast with Kenny Albert. I've met a lot of people in a lot of places, taken a lot of pictures, done a lot of radio, and I ran into this guy. I'll never forget, we're at the Super Bowl about 15 years ago, and Ray Bachman, our fantastic executive producer, looks over and says, "That looks like Roger Lodge from Blind Date, man. That's it. We got to get him on the show." I said, "I love Blind Date. Get Roger over there." Then I find out that not only is Roger Lodge a great guy and a great game show host, and that would have been my second career had I gotten an agent out in L.A. many years ago. He is a huge baseball nerd, just like all the rest of us now, 10 years, calling some baseball pregame for the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles, now just the Los Angeles Angels. You can find him at Roger Lodge 7, and one of his tweets wound up in my timeline last week, and I'm like, I'm calling Lodge. And not only that, Roger, first off, welcome back in, bro. It's great to have you on, but people don't know of your incredible connection to Baltimore and Perry Hall and flying in and out of BWI Airport, right?
Nestor, great to be back on with you. It's an absolute thrill and an honor to be on Nasty Sports on 1570 there. But let me just tell you, man, my beautiful wife, Pamela Paulshock of WCW fame back in the day, who, by the way, used to work a lot with Ric Flair. That's a whole other story in itself. But we're back and forth. I am back and forth to Perry Hall all the time. So when I'm back there, I feel like I'm home. So this is wonderful to be on with you, getting a little East Coast, left coast flavor, brother.
Well, I mean, I think you showed up on my timeline because the Angels signed this kid, right? I mean, this derby was going on. There's 9 teams. There are a lot of hurt feelings, and lo and behold, Artie Moreno showed the yen, as they say. And look, I was out in Anaheim a couple years ago for a game. I went to 30 ballparks in 30 days for the bone marrow registry after my wife had leukemia the first time. And and the one thing I would say is there's a lot of spirit. There's a lot of monkey. There's a lot of residue of everything that I think Mike Scioscia has built there. But I was there on the weirdest day. I walked up into the press box. It was July 1st, and the first guy I saw was Ken Rosenthal there in the press lounge. And that's usually like when 60 Minutes knocks on your door. Like if Rosenthal's there in the middle of the season, probably bad things. And that was the last day DePoto was there. So I was there sort of at the changing of the guard of what they're trying to do, and Scioscia sort of won the power battle that's going on there. But, the Angels have already, before the market begins in Orlando, before anything happens, they've shown that they're all in on the excitement and all that, and not just letting the Dodgers run off and play in the World Series up the road.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. And you look at what they have done even before the meeting started on Sunday night in Orlando. We've checked off some pretty important boxes here for the Halos. First of all, they started by re-signing Justin Upton. They gave him that 5-year deal, which is basically one more year than he already had in place. And then they go out and they show, the love to Shohei Otani. It came down to the 7 teams that we all know of, the Mariners, Rangers, Dodgers, Cubs, Giants, and the Padres. But in the end, it was the Angel brass that included owner Artie Moreno in that room, team president John Carpino in that room, Billy Epler, and Mike Scioscia. They impressed Otani not only with their game plan moving forward with him, but and I don't want to sound corny here, but the family-type atmosphere that really impressed Otani and delivered the 2016 Pacific League MVP in Japan to Angel Baseball. And I got to tell you, man, everybody down here is pretty fired up about Shohei Otani.
It's something in an off season, right? Like, I'm an Oriole guy, and look, you fly in and out of here. The old man threw me out 11 years ago after I did the walkout and Free the Birds and all that stuff. And this is really the darkest of off seasons. They came close. They had a couple special players. They got a genius in here to manage the team and a little bit of a savant at working the edges of finding cheaper players and finding role players and Buck knowing how to manage a bullpen, and a downtime for the Yankees and a downtime for the Red Sox when they had that opportunity for a couple of years when Kansas City sort of slid in there and Cleveland and Toronto sort of slid in the back door. But I tell you what, the Yankees, they've buckled up. The Red Sox have buckled up. Here come the Angels spending money again. The Astros obviously showed this new way of doing things. But here in Baltimore, man, we're not going to have that, bro. We're not going to have the splash thing. Our splash thing is what 4 prospects do we get because Machado wants to play shortstop and they're not going to let him and they're not going to sign him next year anyway. And this is a walk year for Duquette, for Showalter, for Machado, for Jones, who might be out in your outfield at some point, as well as for Brad Brock and for Zach Britton. These are dark times for Orioles fans, and the one thing we've seen here for a quarter of a century is they don't manage this stuff well. You know, it's always sticky around Angelos when it comes to this stuff. And I tell you what, a guy like Moreno, who's been maligned, and they've had their problems, and the Josh Hamilton thing and all that, but they're always trying to win out there. And there's only one bar that's acceptable, and that's playing baseball in October, and they haven't. And I'll tell you what, the owner out there spent money and spent it. He's tried. I mean, the Pujols thing was a big play, and I know you were in on all that a couple of years ago when that happened. He left St. Louis, but you can't say that ownership isn't trying to create a winner.
And Nestor, the one thing in every single baseball conversation I've ever had with Angel owner Artie Moreno, it's all about two things. It's all about when the fans enter the ballpark, are they having a great time, and are they going to come back? But more importantly than anything, Artie Moreno wants to win. This is a guy who was a fierce competitor. He was a fierce competitor when he was in the billboard business and sold that for $8 billion to CBS. And now that he's running a major league franchise, he wants to win more than anything. You just mentioned the times that he went out and brought in Albert for that 10-year contract. He took a shot with Josh Hamilton. Okay, it didn't work, but the bottom line is you can't deny Artie Moreno's will to win baseball games. This guy wants to win more than any owner I've ever met. He is unbelievably competitive. And like I mentioned, when you talk about what they've done already here, it's all about winning. And general manager Billy Epler so far has come in. Not only did they bring in Otani and re-sign Justin Upton, they brought in, they're trying to help the bullpen. So they bring in a guy you're familiar with, Jim Johnson. I'll get to that in a moment because I want your take on that. And they also continue to build what was the worst minor league system in baseball when they added the 17-year-old shortstop and top 40 prospect in all of baseball, Kevin Maton, who became a free agent because the Atlanta Braves don't know how to follow the rules. So everything is moving in the right direction here in Southern California with the Angels. Not only is it all about Shohei Otani right now, but oh, by the way, they also have the best player in baseball in future Hall of Famer Michael Nelson Trout. And you've got Albert still here. You got Upton for the next 5, and you got Andrelton Simmons, the best shortstop on the planet, and Cole Calhoun locked in for the next 3 years. So the next 3 years out here in SoCal for the Angels are gigantic, and everyone, including the owner, Artie Moreno, they are all in.
Well, it's sort of like that mortgage company, right? When everybody competes, you win, and they're competing out there. I mean, and I don't know that the Padres are ever going to be able to compete down the road. They're going to have to do it that Astros way. But what the Dodgers have represented there, I think, and you'd like to think that the Nationals and the Orioles would be that competitive. They're only really competitive about making money because they're sharing the Masson deal. So they fight over money, not over baseball, the Nationals and the Orioles. But, out there, it really is about putting asses in the seats and saying we're serious about winning. And up the road, you got to respect what the Dodgers have done the last couple of years. I mean, after the mess that was the ownership there that was going broke and the husband and the wife are fighting, and she was from Baltimore too, Jamie McCourt. So there's a whole Baltimore connection there as part of that whole mess out there, and a bunch of Baltimore people caught up in the undertow of that. They turned that thing around pretty quickly out there.
No question about it, Nestor. And the other thing is it kind of reminds me of Lakers, Clippers, or even in Chicago, Cubs and White Sox. The White Sox won the World Series in 2005, but did anyone really give a damn there? I think the number one question was, what are the Cubs going to do in the offseason after the White Sox won that World Series? This is a Laker town. It will always be a Laker town. The Clippers could reel off 2 NBA titles in a row, and the biggest question out here is what's wrong with Lonzo's jump shot, and is Luke Walton the right head coach?
And bring back Kobe. Always bring back Kobe, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or, also, it's clearly a Dodger town. There's no question about it. I was born and raised here all the way back to the days of Garvey Lopes and Russell. Vin Scully was an institution here in Los Angeles. It's a Dodger town, but it's great to see the Angels making some headway and getting some attention. They made a splash with Albert a few years ago. And, hey, on Saturday, I got to tell you, that press conference out here at the Big A, it was almost surreal. There were thousands of people lined up just to get a glimpse of this guy, and I'm not sure even the Angels realize what a splash and what a superstar Shohei Otani. And let me just let everyone know that there is your proper pronunciation. So stop fouling it up.
Shohei.
Shohei. The Bay Area had to say, hey, kid. Down here in SoCal now, we have the Shohei kid. Shohei Otani. And he's getting a lot of attention right now. I'm just looking forward to getting this guy on the field. And what a great reality show. I deal in reality television. I've been doing it now for years. What a great reality show the Angels will be in 2018. Where are you going to put this guy when he's not on the mound? And I asked Mike Scioscia about that, and I asked him straight out. I said, Scioscia, what other glove does Shohei Otani want to bring to spring training? He said no glove, because he's not going to play in the field. When he's not pitching, he will DH. And what is that? What's the reverberation effect there? Mike Scioscia just basically indicated to me that Albert Pujols now, who this offseason, the first time in about 5 or 6 years, he's not going through some kind of off-season surgery. He thinks Albert's going to be ready to go and be able to play first base a whole lot more in 2018. And keep in mind, Albert only played first base 34 times the last couple of years. So all indications are that Albert's ready to go and play first base a lot in 2018.
Shohei Otani. His show was Blind Date many moons ago. He does all things sports radio now in Southern California out there at AM 830. You can find him at Roger Lodge 7. That's the number 7. Why number 7, Raj?
Basically because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 weren't available. And also, it was the number that my boyhood hero, Pistol Pete Maravich, wore on the New Orleans Jazz when he was the late, great Pistol Pete was lighting it up and winning scoring titles as a member of the Jazz. And speaking of basketball out here, how much of the Lonzo effect are you hearing there on the East Coast?
You know what, man? I haven't heard a word about his old man, and I tend to just steer clear, literally, of that and try to focus on the basketball side of things. The Wizards have been their own issue here in the last couple of years as well. The hardest part with the NBA for me, just being a guy who's not in an NBA city, is I just feel like the Warriors are going to win. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like in the end, it's sort of predetermined. They're so much better than everyone. Now, I'm doing Cleveland radio all week here because we play the Browns this week, right? The 0-13 Browns. So they're all trying to convince me the Cavs are going to win, but I'll believe that when I see it. So I think it's just the Warriors and everyone else, and that's disappointing to me because I don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl in the NFL, but I'm pretty sure if you gave me a nickel right now, I could put it on the Warriors and I'd probably cash that ticket.
And despite what happens during the regular season and everyone's, jumping through hoops because the Boston Celtics start the night 23-6, and Cleveland is only 19-8, and in the Western Conference, the Rockets right now have a better record than the Golden State Warriors. But I think you're right, man. In the end, LeBron's going to get it together. The Cavs, by the way, are 9-1 in their last 10 games after a miserable start. They're going to get Isaiah Thomas blended into that offense at some point. And with Golden State, come on. Kevin Durant couldn't beat him. He had to go join him. I can't tell you how much I hate that. Could you imagine back in the day Mick Jagger saying, you know what, the Beatles are selling all these freaking records. I'm going to go join the Beatles. No.
Come on, man. You're calling Angels games and they shipped in Pujols. You got to recruit. When you get a Trout, you recruit around him. You went to Japan to recruit a guy.
Well, we didn't go to Japan. He came here, and we interviewed him along with every other major league team. And by the way, you know what the beauty of that is? The beauty about the international free agent, those rules now, is that the fact that Otani is coming to spring training down in Tempe, Arizona, on a minor league contract. He's going to make the major league minimum next season of $545,000. Nestor, what if this guy actually is as advertised, and he comes in the next coming of Yu Darvish, and he can flat out hit? This cat won't be eligible for arbitration until he's played at least 3 seasons, and he won't be eligible for free agency until 2023. Of course, the Angels had to write that pesky $20 million check just to get a conversation with Otani and his agent, Nes Valello. But if this guy is half as good as they say he is, he's going to be an absolute bargain at $545,000.
Well, to the basketball side, how excited can you get about the Wizards 2 games over 500? You know what I mean? When you don't feel like you have a chance to win. And I guess that goes to where we are with the Orioles, where I'm hearing crickets from the fan base here right now, much like, when you can't win. I mean, and I don't know that the Angels really thought they could win last year. I think that changes the conversation for you. I think that changes the conversation for any sports fan. Can we win a championship or not? If we can't, I can only care so much.
Yeah, and, when you talk about the Angels last year, and a lot of people have brought that up, were you really going to win last year? What are your expectations for 2018? You got to remember, a little quick background on my Halos. They were 80 and 82 last season, and they were in it until the end. Meanwhile, they were in it till the end, while Mike Trout missed 6 weeks, 48 games to be exact. Garrett Richards, who was our number 1 starter, made 1 start in April, didn't come back until September. Andrew Heaney, a really good lefty, a really good young left-handed arm that we have, didn't pitch until August the 18th. Tyler Skaggs, another lefty, missed 3 months. J.C. Ramirez missed from August 19th on. Yunel Escobar missed 17 games. Houston Street threw a whopping 4 innings last year, Nestor. He was supposed to be our freaking closer. Alex Meyer, who is showing signs of greatness, he shut it down on July the 19th, and Nick Tropiano missed the entire season. With all that I just bored your listeners with, my Halos finished 80 and 82, and they were in it until the White Sox, Nick Delmonico, walked us off in 10 innings on September the 27th. So you add Otani, and now we're getting Justin Upton for an entire season. That's what you need here in Southern California, just like you need somehow, some way during these winter meetings with the Orioles. You need to find a way to build some excitement, and with Otani and Upton for a new year, for a whole season, Mike Trout hopefully for an entire year and healthy, we're building some excitement here. I'm not so sure how much excitement you guys got rolling. What are you throwing out there? Okay, Are we going to bring Machado back? Dylan Bundy, Kevin Gausman? The good news is Ubaldo Jimenez is gone.
We agree. We agree on that. It must be fun going and watching Trout play every night, though, right? I mean, we've had that around here with Machado and Adam Jones. We had some nice players around here, but I mean, a real reason to go to the ballpark to say, I saw Mike Trout play. He's an ascending player, as good as he is, and I know he missed some at-bats and missed some time, a couple months, but for me, over the next 10 years, I would take him over Harper, or Otani, or Stanton, or any of the rest of these guys. I mean, you got the best player in baseball, period.
Nestor, you make such a great point there because, let's face it, a family of 4 sitting around the dinner table, not to mention the fact how expensive it is to go to a major league game these days. But if the kids are sitting around the dinner table and if I say to my children, hey, you guys want to go see Mike Trout play, they can't get in the car quick enough. Not only do the Angels have who I consider to be the best player in baseball, they have one of the most amazing young men I have ever seen. And you and I have been doing this a long time, Nestor. I have seen, and I've never seen, maybe you can help me here if you've seen a guy do this, but Mike Trout, once he gets to the ballpark, when he's out at the Big A, during batting practice before a game, in between rounds, he will go over and sign a bunch of autographs for kids. He'll bring kids down onto the field to let them experience what's it like to be on a field during Major League batting practice. The guy is not only an amazing player, he is amazing with the fans. And if I'm the Angels right now, I try to lock him up for the next 10 years. I don't care how much it costs. It's going to be a bargain. You need that type of player because today, first of all, to get people to come into your major league ballparks these days is tough. There's so many other things to do now with all the social media and all these devices. And that's why I think it's going to be a shame if you guys let Manny Machado walk. You need a face of the franchise. You need a constant, and Peter Angelos needs to recognize that and lock Machado up as the face of the Baltimore Orioles.
We had a guy named Ripken here back in the day, Raj. He did that sort of stuff and still doing that sort of stuff up in Aberdeen. Roger Lodge joining us. You know him from Blind Date. If you've been in Southern California at any time over the last 10 years, he does sports radio at AM 830 there, as well as doing a bunch of stuff with the Sports Lodge in L.A. and the Angels as well. You can follow him at Roger Lodge and the number 7 and his beautiful wife Pamela from Perry Hall. So if you see Roger through the holidays or bump into him at PWI and you say, that looks like the Blind Date dude, it is. Hey, man, last thing for you. The Blind Date thing and the game show thing and the host thing and all that stuff, it's good life, right? I mean, it's a good gig out in California, right?
It's a great gig when you can find that type of work, but you got to lock in on, not only, and everyone says, oh, man, when you were the host of Blind Date, what'd you do? Come into a studio and shoot the wraparounds once a week and then just go home and count your money? No, because what you have to do, and to anyone out there listening right now, listen to me. If you want to be a host, whether it be radio or television, stop and listen to what I have to say to you. You have to make yourself more versatile and make yourself valuable. You can't just show up, read the prompter, and go home. Those days are over. Budgets are too tough these days. You got to write. You got to produce segments. You have to be versatile, kind of like a Major League Baseball player today that can play multiple positions. It's more valuable to a team, and they'll keep you around longer if you're valuable.
Or a dude from Japan who can pitch and hit.
Exactly. But he's versatile. The first year of Blind Date, I just showed up. I was nice and polite. I read the prompter, and I went home. Then I asked to be a producer and a writer on that show. So I sewed myself into the fabric. So I was more valuable, and I've taken those principles to every single job I've had since. Make yourself valuable. Is it fun? It's the best. Is it a great time? Is it lucrative? It really, really can be. Things are good, but you have to make yourself valuable by being a multiple position guy.
Blind Date always works. The dating game always works. The newlywed game, they're just eternal things. The Price is Right's always going to work, right?
You know what? There are certain staples. And right now, you got Pat Sajak and Alex Trebek. Those guys are the last of a dying breed. Maybe Steve Harvey a little bit and Ryan Seacrest have all that stuff going on. But those game shows you just mentioned, man, you can roll with that franchise. The Price is Right that you mentioned, the other shows, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. When Pat and Vanna can't do it anymore, guess what? There'll be a new Pat and Vanna. They can go for another 25 years. Those shows are absolute institutions, but they are a rare breed in today's entertainment world.
You got to get me an agent, Raj. I need to be that guy, when Jeopardy goes down.
Wait a second. This whole interview just took a turn. Nestor Aparicio, star, runs the whole deal at 1570 in the wonderful area on the East Coast there. You don't have representation?
I am not properly represented in the Hollywood area. No, I am not, Raj.
That is an absolute... You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the Ravens the other night on the Sunday night game against Pittsburgh. That's an unmitigated disaster. Nestor Aparicio needs representation.
Represent me, Raj. Come on, man. Take me out there. Show me around to L.A. Hey, man, we'll see you hopefully at some point. I haven't seen you at the Super Bowl lately. I know you're more on the baseball side. We'll have our ear up to the glass for the winter meetings, but it's really good to visit with you. If you get back home to Baltimore, we'll take you out and make sure you don't get a tourist crab cake, all right?
I absolutely love the idea of coming in there with you in the studio. Afterwards, we'll go out, have a little lunch. Great to reconnect with you. I truly look forward to our next conversation. Thanks for having me.
Next time he's in, Roger Lodge, the former host of Blind Date, now doing all things Anaheim, California, Los Angeles Angels. They've been called all of the above. And the Shohei Otani thing said, I'm going to call Raj, see what's going on with him. Roger Lodge and the number 7 is out on Twitter. You can follow him out in SoCal, as they like to say, at AM 830. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. I probably would be a pretty good game show host. I think that could be my next career. When the sports thing all breaks down after 26 years. 26 years this week, December 13th, that I started this party. It hasn't ended yet. The buyatoyota.com audio vault is there, but so is our morning newspaper. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's $10 a month, never any commitment. Planet of Triumphs will get you all pumped up for the 2018 year. Make sure you get over to Planet Fitness. Last but never least, any breaking news from the aforementioned winter meetings. I keep calling them the owners' meetings, winter meetings, baseball meetings, whatever it is, general managers' meetings, all the thing going on in Orlando, the crazy baseball bazaar. We'll get it to you first on the WNST text service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colazzos will be here driving you home on Thursday from 3 until 5. Nasty at WNST.net finds me anytime, anywhere for complaints, criticism, but I prefer the praise. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, we're everywhere you are. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.